Hello, welcome to the next lesson. If you have not started this series yet, please go back and start with Book 1, Lesson 1. You promised to tell me your history, you know, said Alice, and why it is you hate C and D, she added in a whisper, half afraid that it would be offended again. Mine is a long and a sad tale, said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. It is a long tale, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse's tail. But why do you call it sad? And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tale was something like this. This is a reminder. Remember, nothing translates to nada. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have a trial, for really this morning I've nada to do." Said the mouse to the cur, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath." "I'll be judge, I'll be jury," said cunning old Fury. "I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death." "You are not attending," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. "You had got to the fifth bend, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse, sharply and very angrily. "This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to elamisma." "A knot," said Alice, always ready to make elamisma useful and looking anxiously about her. "Oh, do let me help to undo it." "This is a reminder. Remember, nothing translates to nada." "I shall do nada of the sort," said the mouse, getting up and walking away. "You insult me by talking such nonsense." "This is a reminder. Remember, poor translates to pobre." "I didn't mean it," pleaded pobre Alice, "but you're so easily offended, you know." The mouse only growled in reply. "Please come back and finish your story," Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus, "Yes, please do." But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. "This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto." "This is a reminder. Remember quite translates to bastante." "What a pity it wouldn't stay," sighed the lorry, as pronto as it was bastante out of sight. And an old crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, "Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you never to lose your temper." "Hold your tongue, ma," said the young crab a little snappishly. "You're enough to try the patience of an oyster." "This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto." "I wish I had our Dinah here, I know I do," said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular. "She'd pronto fetch it back." "And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question?" said the lorry. "This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto," Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. "Dinah's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice you can't think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Why, she'll eat a little bird as pronto as look at it." This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto. This speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the birds hurried off at once. One old magpie began wrapping itself up very carefully, remarking, "I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat." And a canary called out in a trembling voice to its children, "Come away, my dears, it's high time you were all in bed." On various pretexts they all moved off, and Alice was pronto left alone. "This is a reminder. Remember, herself translates to elamisma." "This is a reminder. Remember, poor translates to pobre." In the next paragraph, we are introducing a new word. The word heard translates to escuchó. "I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah," she said to elamisma in a melancholy tone. "Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I shall ever see you any more." And here pobre Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lonely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again escuchó a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. Chapter 4. The rabbit sends in a little bill. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. It was the white rabbit, trotting slowly back again, and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she escuchó it muttering to itself, the Duchess, oh my dear paws, oh my fur and whiskers, she'll get me executed as sure as ferrets are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder?" Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them, but they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall with the glass table and the little door had vanished completely. This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto. Very pronto the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about, and called out to her in an angry tone, "Why, Mary Ann, what are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan. Quick now!" And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake it had made. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. This is a reminder. Remember find translates to encontrar. "He took me for his housemaid," she said to ella misma as she ran. "How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves, that is, if I can encontrar them." As she said this, she came upon a neat little house, on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit engraved upon it. She went in without knocking, and hurried upstairs, in great fear lest she should meet the real Mary Ann, and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and gloves. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. "How queer it seems," Alice said to ella misma, "to be going messages for a rabbit. I suppose Dinah'll be sending me on messages next." And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen. "Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for your walk." "Coming in a minute, nurse. But I've got to see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think," Alice went on, "that they'd let Dinah stop in the house if it began ordering people about like that." This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. This is a reminder. Remember quite translates to bastante. By this time she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white kid gloves. She took up the fan and a pair of the gloves, and was just going to leave the room, when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking-glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put it to her lips. "I know something interesting is sure to happen," she said to ella misma, "whenever I eat or drink anything, so I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me grow large again, for really I'm bastante tired of being such a tiny little thing." This is a reminder. Remember quite translates to bastante. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected. Before she had drunk half the bottle, she found her head pressing against the ceiling, and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to ella misma, "That's bastante enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out at the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk bastante so much." This is a reminder. Remember soon translates to pronto. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. Alas, it was too late to wish that. She went on growing, and very pronto had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door and the other arm curled round her head. Still she went on growing, and, as a last resource, she put one arm out of the window and one foot up the chimney, and said to ella misma, "Now I can do no more. Whatever happens, what will become of me?" Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still it was very uncomfortable, and as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. This is a reminder. Remember, poor translates to pobre. It was much pleasanter at home, thought pobre Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller, and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole. And yet, it's rather curious, you know, this sort of life. I do wonder what can have happened to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of thing never happened, and now here I am in the middle of one. There ought to be a book written about me, that there ought, and when I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added in a sorrowful tone. At least there's no room to grow up any more, here. But then, thought Alice, shall I never get any older than I am now? That'll be a comfort, one way, never to be an old woman, but then, always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. "Oh, you foolish Alice," she answered ella misma. "How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books." This is a reminder. Remember quite translates to bastante. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making bastante a conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes she escuchó a voice outside, and stopped to listen. This is a reminder. Remember quite translates to bastante. "Marianne, Marianne," said the voice, "fetch me my gloves this moment." Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, bastante forgetting that she was now about 1,000 times as large as the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of it. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. Presently the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards and Alice's elbow was pressed hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Alice escuchó it say to itself, "Then I'll go round and get in at the window." This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. "That you won't," thought Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she escuchó the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she escuchó a little shriek and a fall and a crash of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cucumber frame, or something of the sort. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. Next came an angry voice. The rabbit's. "Pat! Pat! Where are you?" And then a voice she had never escuchó before. "Sure then I'm here. Digging for apples, your honor." "Digging for apples indeed," said the rabbit angrily. "Here, come and help me out of this." Sounds of more broken glass. In the next paragraph, we are introducing a new word. The word tell translates to decir. "Now decir me, Pat, what's that in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, your honor." He pronounced it arum. "An arm, you goose. Whoever saw one that size? Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, your honor, but it's an arm for all that." "Well, it's got no business there at any rate. Go and take it away." This is a reminder. Remember tell translates to decir. There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, your honor, at all, at all." "Do as I decir you, you coward." And at last she spread out her hand again and made another snatch in the air. This time there were 2 little shrieks and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cucumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. She waited for some time without hearing anything more. At last came a rumbling of little cartwheels and the sound of a good many voices all talking together. She made out the words, "Where's the other ladder? Why, I hadn't to bring but one. Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. Here, put 'em up at this corner. No, tie 'em together first. They don't reach half high enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold of this rope. Will the roof bear? Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below." A loud crash. "Now, who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney?" "Nay, I shan't." "You do it." "That I won't then. Bill's to go down. Here, Bill, the master says you're to go down the chimney." This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. "Oh, so Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he?" said Alice to ella misma. "Shy, they seem to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is narrow, to be sure, but I think I can kick a little." This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could and waited till she escuchó a little animal, she couldn't guess of what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above her. Then, saying to ella misma, "This is Bill," she gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escuchó. This is a reminder. Remember tell translates to decir. The first thing she escuchó was a general chorus of, "There goes Bill." Then the rabbit's voice along, "Catch him, you by the hedge." Then silence, and then another confusion of voices. "Hold up his head. Brandy now, don't choke him. How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Decir us all about it." This is a reminder. Remember tell translates to decir. Last came a little feeble squeaking voice. "That's Bill," thought Alice. "Well, I hardly know. No more, thank ye. I'm better now. But I'm a deal too flustered to deter you. All I know is, something comes at me like a jack-in-the-box, and up I goes like a skyrocket." "So you did, old fellow," said the others. "We must burn the house down," said the rabbit's voice, and Alice called out as loud as she could, "If you do, I'll set Dinah at you." This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. This is a reminder. Remember heard translates to escucho. There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to ella misma, "I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they'd take the roof off." After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice escuchó the rabbit say, "A barrowful will do, to begin with." This is a reminder. Remember herself translates to ella misma. A barrowful of what? thought Alice, but she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little pebbles came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "I'll put a stop to this," she said to ella misma, and shouted out, "You'd better not do that again," which produced another dead silence.